Most people think that the most dangerous part of the Bible are the ones about the end of the world or ancient wars or cryptic giants. But they'd be wrong. The most dangerous chapter in the Bible is actually found in the book of Acts, chapter 4. Why? Because it's the exact moment when being a Christian stopped being this nice idea and it actually started to become a threat to the global status quo. Now, if you've ever looked at your phone lately and you've just felt this cold, heavy weight come across your chest, a sense that this world isn't just changing, but it is fracturing in real time, you are not alone. What you are doing is you are finally seeing that this massive gap between the world is pressured, that we're pressured to fit into, and the kingdom that we are actually made for. But here is what most people miss. When they read this passage, the authorities, they didn't arrest Peter and John because they were being mean or they were being too political. They arrested them because of a legal technicality that still haunts the powers that be today. The first century, the name of a person, it wasn't just a label. In Greek and Hebrew mind, the name, it actually carried actual presence and authority of the person. Now, by speaking in the name of Jesus, Peter was not just sharing a memory, he was invoking a rival jurisdiction. He was telling the Sanhedrin, the Supreme Court of the day, that their court had been overruled by a much higher bench. So that is why Acts 4 is so dangerous, because it proves that a polite faith is in fact a sinking ship. So today we're going to look at why Acts 4 is the blueprint for those of us that are quietly alarmed, because if we actually lived out this chapter, our jobs, our social circles, even our very lives would be completely changed. So here's the setup. Peter and John, they just healed a man who had been paralyzed for 40 years. Now everyone is celebrating. The man is walking. It is a miracle. So why did the authorities go and throw them in jail for it? Well, it's because the world, they don't mind your good deeds, but the world actually does love a very kind Christian, but one who keeps their mouth shut. But the second that Peter and John opened up their mouths and explained who in fact did the healing, the entire atmosphere changed. Acts 4:2 says that the leaders were greatly annoyed. My friend, that is a massive understatement. They weren't just annoyed at the miracle, they were terrified of the resurrection. You see, if Jesus is still in the grave, he's just a dead philosopher that you can ignore. You could just, turn his teaching into good morals or good values that would fit neatly into a corporate handbook. But he is risen. And as Peter was proclaiming, it means that he is the ultimate authority. It means that the Sanhedrin rule doesn't matter as much as his and Caesar's throne is only temporary. Now, as a Christian, I see this every day, and you probably feel it too. Your neighbors are fine with you being spiritual. Your boss actually does respect your ethics. But the moment that you suggest that Jesus Christ is the risen King who has the final say in how we live and how we work and how we vote, that is when the annoyance starts. Acts 4 is dangerous because it forces us to choose. Do we want to be liked by the world, or do we want to be loyal to our King? You see, the pressure that Peter and John faced is the exact same pressure that we're feeling in the break room at work or in our family group chat. It comes in 3 stages. Number 1, the muzzle. You can believe what you want, just don't talk about Jesus to me. All right, this is the privatization of faith. They want you to hide that light under a bushel. Number 2 is the blend. Can't you just focus on the social work? Why do you have to make it about truth? This is the attempt to turn the church into just another nonprofit, something that just has a nice logo. And then number 3, it is the safety trap. Don't rock the boat. Think about your reputation. Think about your career here. Now, this is the subtle whisper that happens that says that your comfort is more important than your conviction. But let's look at Peter's response in Acts 4:12. He says, "And there is salvation in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven given among men by which we must be saved." That is the most offensive verse in the Bible to a modern ear. In a world that demands that we all say all paths lead to the same place, Peter is standing up and he's saying, no, there is only one. And he wasn't being narrow-minded, he was being brutally honest. If there is only one life raft, the most hateful thing you could do is to pretend that there are 10 others that don't float. If you are feeling exhausted, you're trying to tiptoe around everyone else's feelings, I have a very hard truth for you. You were never meant to. The reason Acts 4 feels so dangerous is that it calls us to the narrow path. The gospel is not a self-help program to make our lives better or to make us a better version. It is a rescue mission. We're all dead in our sin, rebellious against God, trying to be our own kings and queens of our own little broken empires. But God in his mercy, in his grace, sent Jesus to live the perfect life that we couldn't, die the death that we deserve on that cross, and to rise again to prove he is Lord of all. Now, when you surrender to him, you're not just joining a religion, you are changing your citizenship. Following him does not make your life easier. It absolutely does not. It makes your life meaningful. It gives you a rock to stand on when the culture turns into quicksand. And I want to invite you right now to stop treading water in a version of Christianity that does not save. Come join us inside of the Narrow Pathfinders. It's a community of us who are dedicated to standing firm on the Word of God, who have decided that we'd rather be in a jail cell with Jesus than in a palace without him. I'll leave a link in the description below. Here's your challenge for the week. I want you to find one shrink back moment. You know exactly what I mean. That moment, that split-second decision in a conversation where you're about to say something, but then you just want to go silent because it would be easier. I don't want you to go silent just to keep the peace. Now, don't be loud about it. Don't be a jerk, all right? But I do want you to be unapologetically honest. When you choose to speak up for a biblical worldview, respectfully but firmly, you are acting as the salt and light as the Lord has intended. You are helping to pull the foundation of our society back towards the truth. Now, these foundations only hold if the people who believe the truth are actually willing to stand on it. So remember, Peter did not do this on his own strength. He was a man who had cowardly denied Jesus just weeks before. But what changed? Acts 4:8 says he was filled with the Holy Spirit. This isn't about you going out there and white-knuckling your way, about being a tougher person. It's really about you being a spirit-filled person. When you read to the end of Acts 4, you will see that this danger, that it created the most beautiful community in history. They didn't pray for the persecution to stop. In fact, they prayed for boldness so they could go out there and endure. You're not alone in thinking that the pulpit needs to offer more than just a spiritual TED Talk on a Sunday. You're being called back to the Bible exactly as it is written. But standing firm, it is incredibly hard if you aren't sure of the ground beneath your feet. Now, most Christians do feel kind of alarmed because they've never actually been shown the hard data that backs up their biblical faith. So in my next video, I want to have a conversation where we're going to break down the evidence for Christianity that most believers don't know. It is the final piece of the puzzle that you need to be able to stay on unshakable ground in your faith. So be sure to click subscribe, and I will see you there.